You know, we see lots of people exercising, people getting involved in different kinds of sports. And every so often we might find someone who we wouldn't expect to be doing something in sports. I became interested in this concept of mental resilience when I was a resident physician in Loma Linda. I was stationed at the Veterans Hospital, and we had patients who were on the rehabilitation unit of that hospital. And I would see young men who had been disfigured and dismembered in various conflicts or accidents, who were smiling, and every day they woke up with verve and with energy, and they would play basketball in their wheelchairs, and they would have a fun time, while some of us who had all our limbs and all of our faculties would be going around the hospital with long, morose faces. Somehow it seemed that these men, most of them, they had something that we didn't have generally. But I have good news for you. That was back in 1982, when I first started on this journey. In 1995 was a different phase of that, but in 1982, and we have learned a lot about this thing that we call resiliency since then. Okay? So here is this man. He is running. He didn't let the fact that he didn't have limbs stop him. We're going to be talking about the beautiful science of resilience. Now I'm going to be presenting things with different points of view. And I want you to pay attention to this slide. The same object is in the middle, but depending on how you look at it and the reflection that it gives on the wall, they're very different. Would you think that a square and a circle were in the same object? But there it is. Same object, different reflections. You see, in life, we all experience hardship. If there's anyone here who has not experienced a hardship in life, I would like for you to talk to me afterwards. I need to interview you, right? We all experience hardship, but how we deal with that hardship is going to make a difference. And there's some things, some people naturally seem to be able to do things and deal with hardships, and others seem to have a difficult time dealing with it. So we're going to be dealing with that. But some of the people who have been studied include the combat soldiers and veterans, and these individuals, of course, they've had hardship when they were in battle. And the research shows that after the combat, after the battle, after they've gotten back home, or after they've been redeployed somewhere else, some of them develop post-traumatic stress disorders, anxiety, depression, and other kinds of psychopathology, but others just seem to move on. They not only seem to be not negatively affected by what they have gone through, but some of them even seem to get better after they've gone through hardship. How is that? Why does that happen, and how do you determine which person is going to do what? Of course, we can't study everything in humans, so we go to animals, laboratory animals, like these rodents, rats and mice, because we can see things much more rapidly, and we can do things with the animals that we can't do with human beings. So we look at this, and we introduce crisis or stress or trauma to these rodents in the interest of science, okay? In the interest of science, to see what would happen with them after they've been introduced to these things. And what we find is that some of them after the introduction of these chronic stressors and traumas, they develop pathologic behavior, and others seem to be resilient. It's as if they are almost ignoring these traumas after they've been exposed to it and get re-exposed later on. What is going on with them? The third set of people that have been studied, and this is an ongoing situation, is people who have experienced crises in their life. This is human beings, regular people, some of them not experimental in the sense of designing the experiment. These are natural experiments. People get involved in things, and scientists, social scientists, and neuroscientists, and physicians and other clinicians evaluate what's going on. They collect data and they try to see. So some of the things that have been involved in human studies include people who have had adverse childhood experiences, kids who have grown up, and kids while they're growing up and looking at their neurodevelopment. COVID, this is the thing on the block today. What we've seen with COVID is that there's some people after, during and after the measures that were taken around the world, there's been an uptick in suicides, especially among young people, and other kinds of psychopathology, including anxiety and depression. I'm sure Dr. Berglund talked something about those while he was with you. Typhoons, earthquakes, stuff that you are accustomed to here in the Philippines, mudslides, homeland displacement, people who have been involved in wars in one area, like in the Middle East and whatnot, have to move to another country. They have to pick up everything and move. This is a crisis in their lives, and they have been studied to see what is going on. What makes some people during these situations develop psychopathology, and what keeps others doing well. War, civil unrest, volcanoes, all of these things are crises in people's lives, and yes, some develop psychopathology, some become resilient, and some may even seem to thrive during and after these events. So we're going to focus on two major things, two central questions. One would be, how come some of us are resilient and others are not? And the other would be, are there any neuroscience-based ways to increase resilience? And I hope to be able to get through all of these